So it might be my obsession with Carl Jung lately. Or maybe once you start doing real shadow work, you can't just shut it off when you clock in at work. Because eventually you start asking yourself some pretty ugly questions. Like, why does that patient trigger me? Or why do I feel angry watching somebody nod out on methadone? Why does it bother me so much? And you want to know the honest answer? I think it's grief disguised as anger, because it's not about them. It's because some part of me knows that we created this. And not intentionally, but collectively. We medicated people, discharged people, ignored trauma, criminalized addiction, and labeled people non-compliant. And then I watched them come back into the hospital again, only to leave sedated, dependent, and barely functioning. Then we had the balls to call it treatment because it looked cleaner than chaos. So let's talk about methadone. Medication-assisted treatment, harm reduction, maintenance therapy.
Methadone is a government-prescribed synthetic heroin to keep addicts alive and get them off drugs. They also call it liquid handcuffs because basically the government knows where you are each day because you need to pick up your dose.
And before anybody misunderstands me, I'm not saying that methadone does not have its place. For some people, methadone is the difference between heroin, jail, stealing, overdosing. But what literally blows my mind is how low we've let the bar get. Like somewhere along the way, the standard became, at least they're not in jail, stealing, dead. And in my head, I'm like, is that where we're really setting the bar for human beings? Because I'm not also going to pretend that survival is the same thing as freedom. I talk to lots of patients on methadone. And I'll tell you this, a lot of them don't feel free. They hate needing a substance just to feel normal. And they hate waking up having their entire day revolve around a clinic. Rides, dosing windows, take-homes, rules, vacations they can't take, and states they can't leave. A life still organized around dependence, but just with better paperwork. And I think we need to be honest to hold two truths at the same time. Methadone can absolutely help keep people alive, but it can also look a lot like spiritual death. You know, humans disappearing inside their own bodies. But that's the part that we're not allowed to say out loud. Just think it. Because the system loves clean language. It loves words like maintenance, compliance, stability. But sometimes stable just means that someone is suffering in a type of way that is easier for society to tolerate. And maybe that's what bothers me the most. It's not the patient nodding out on methadone, but a machine that has taught us to see that that is the best we can do. Because in my opinion, real healing would ask much harder questions. Like, what the happened to that person? Why did leaving their own body feel safer than living inside of it? What would it actually take to help them come back? And why are we so comfortable at keeping people alive but not fully living? It's like we act terrified of anything that might actually set them free. Ibogaine, MDMA therapy, psychedelic treatments. There are treatments that actually interrupt the addiction cycle at the root. And if we can even imagine a world where somebody might not need heroin or methadone, then we should be furious that the system acts as if daily chemical management is the ceiling of compassion, because lifelong management is profitable. A cured person is a lost customer, and maybe that's the shadow. Not that methadone exists, but that we confuse reducing harm with restoring a human being. At some point, we need to stop congratulating ourselves for keeping people alive if we're not brave enough to ask ourselves why they still don't feel free. Gotta love shadow work.